It's official. We're just 1 week away from the return of Boston Celtics basketball. October 22nd, circle the date. That's when the Celtics take the floor against the Philadelphia 76ers, in what's already shaping up to be an early season matchup with plenty of intrigue. With Joel Embiid reportedly nursing some injury issues, it could be a chance for Boston to come out swinging. And let's be honest, after an offseason filled with movement, rumors, and emotional goodbyes, Celtics fans are hungry to see what this new version of the team looks like under the bright lights. But today, even with the calm before the storm, there's still a lot to get into. Let's start by talking about the veteran who has become one of the most respected figures in recent Celtics history, Al Horford. A new feature on Horford just dropped, and it's packed with insight into what led to his departure from Boston, how he's feeling about this new chapter, and why this move was about more than just numbers on a paycheck. In the piece, Al opened up in a way that we don't often see from someone so composed. He admitted that once the offseason began, it became clearer and clearer that the Celtics were heading in a different direction. Not just with money and contracts, but with priorities. The departures of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis hit hard, and even though the reasons were financial, the impact was deeply personal. Al made it clear, this decision wasn't just his. It was a family one. He and his wife took time, prayed on it, and came to the conclusion that this was the right move for them. Now look, when a guy like Horford, who's turning 40, is looking at the final stretch of his career, the calculus changes. You're not thinking about long rebuilds. You're thinking about maximizing whatever time is left to chase another ring, to finish strong, and to do it with purpose. He's not just playing to be out there. He's playing to win. And with the Celtics clearly reshaping their roster and entering a new phase of this Tatum Brown era, it makes sense that Horford had to really evaluate if sticking around was aligned with his goals. The emotional weight of this move shouldn't be overlooked. This wasn't just a contract change. This was about legacy, relationships, and closing a chapter with a team he's grown so connected to twice. Remember, Horford came back to Boston for a second stint. That says a lot about the bond he's had with the organization, the players, and the fan base. He even acknowledged that the title run last year meant the world to him, and watching that core slowly break apart had a huge impact on his decision-making. Now he's off to Golden State, and in a way it feels fitting. He joins a crew of battle-tested vets, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and likely Jimmy Butler if those rumors hold. He's going from one experienced locker room to another, but with the added benefit of still being in a position to chase wins. It's not a rebuild. It's a different type of push for success. And let's be honest, if Al ends up wrapping up his career with 2 solid years in Golden State and comes back to Boston for that ceremonial one-day contract to retire as a Celtic, it would be the perfect bookend to a remarkable career. Let's take a second to actually appreciate that career. NBA champion, 5-time All-Star, a player who has always done the little things, the smart plays, the dirty work that doesn't show up in the box score, but changes the outcome of games. His career averages are solid. 13 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting efficiently across the board. But beyond the numbers, Horford's impact has always been about presence, leadership, stability. And that Florida Gators run, back-to-back college championships, that counts too. The Basketball Hall of Fame doesn't just look at the NBA resume. It considers the full journey. And when you factor it all in, Al Horford absolutely belongs in that conversation. And while we're on the topic of physical wear and tear, let me just say, last night, I felt like I was channeling Horford's durability in my own way. Played in a rec league game, and man, I got beat up. First of all, we won in overtime, so let's get that straight. But I'm telling you, when your body starts sending warning signs like you're trying to guard a bunch of 6-footers with 20 pounds on you, you feel every screen, every box out. The whole thing had me thinking of Jawan Jennings talking about playing with 5 broken ribs. That's the vibe I was on last night. And yet somehow I made it through. 3 wins, 1 loss. We're still standing. Just a little slower getting up this morning. Anyway, back to the Celtics. One of the fascinating things about where this team stands right now is that we're seeing a natural evolution. This isn't the end of the road for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Not even close. But the pieces around them are shifting, and that's normal. That's what happens with long playoff runs and contending windows. Look at the Warriors. Sure, Steph and Draymond are still there, but think about how many different rotations and supporting casts they've gone through over the years. Same thing with Jordan's Bulls. Stars stay, role players rotate. It's part of the grind of trying to win titles year after year. The Celtics are simply entering their next chapter. They're retooling, adjusting to the financial realities of building a contender under the new salary cap rules, and trying to maximize the talent they have without locking themselves into contracts that could become liabilities. It's not fun because fans love familiarity. We want to see the guys we love retire with our jersey on. But that's not how the business side of the league works anymore. Not if you're trying to stay competitive. But all of this brings us back to the present. We got a team that still has its superstar duo intact, still has depth, still has a young coach who, whether you like him or not, is clearly growing into the role. And we've got storylines everywhere heading into the season. Award season predictions are already flying around, and the Celtics have names in those conversations. Jaylen Brown is primed for another All-Star appearance. That's almost a lock. But there's also a world where someone like Derek White or even Peyton Pritchard sneaks into the discussion. Derek, in particular, might be on the verge of a breakout season. His defense is elite, and if his scoring takes even a small jump, voters will notice. And let's not rule out a strong showing at the three-point contest in Los Angeles this year. Don't be surprised if we see two Celtics, maybe White and Pritchard, repping the green and white on All-Star Saturday night. As for MVP talk, look, we're going to hear a lot of names. Jason Tatum's always in the mix, especially if Boston finishes near the top of the standings. But if we're being realistic, Luka Doncic might have the inside track. The chatter around skinny Luka is loud, and if LeBron has started to show signs of age, that spotlight's only going to get brighter. Luka is poised to put up monster numbers, and if Dallas climbs the standings, it's his award to lose. On the other end of the spectrum, keep an eye on Sixth Man of the Year. Anthony Simons might not be a Celtic, but he's got a real shot at winning that award. His offensive firepower off the bench is undeniable. But don't count out Pritchard either. If he finds himself back in that role, he's got the green light and the confidence to put up the numbers to make a serious case. Another dark horse? Santi Aldama from Memphis. He's going to get a lot of opportunities with their injury issues, and he's capable of producing in a big way. Coach of the Year? Believe it or not, Joe Mazzulla should be in the mix. Say what you want about his rotations or timeouts, but if Boston wins 45-plus games and avoids the drama that defined parts of last season, he'll get credit. And if we're talking about dark horse coaches, let's give some shine to Mitch Johnson in San Antonio. He's taking over for Pop full-time, and with Wemby looking like a future MVP already, a competitive season from the Spurs could put him on the radar. Defensive Player of the Year? Wembanyama might have that one in a chokehold already. But Derek White deserves to be in the conversation. His ability to guard multiple positions, his instincts, his effort, it's all top tier. Even if he doesn't win, don't be shocked if he lands on the all-defensive first team. But let's not move past Joe Mazzulla just yet, because the guy has been in the headlines again, and not just for what's happening courtside. There's been a lot of noise about how he wants to reshape how people see him, how he's perceived both inside the organization and by the fans and media. And yesterday, he gave us a perfect example of how unpredictable and intense he can be. Every year, there's a fun little tradition where the media members covering the Celtics get to scrimmage at the team's practice facility. It's usually low-key, lighthearted, a way for writers and reporters to bond and get a feel for what it's like to hoop at a professional level. But this year, things took a sharp turn when Joe Mazzulla decided to jump into the action, not just symbolically, but for real. It started with a simple press interaction. A question was asked, something about the toughness of the practices, and Mazzulla, instead of giving a typical dry answer, suddenly tells the media guys, "You're not scrimmaging each other today. You're playing us." No hesitation. Just like that, he flipped the script. He took his coaching staff, laced them up, and challenged the reporters to a full-on game. And this wasn't a joke. This was serious business. Now imagine this. Joe Mazzulla, head coach of one of the most scrutinized franchises in the NBA, out there diving for loose balls, playing intense on-ball defense, yelling out switches like it's a playoff game. There was one clip, and if you haven't seen it, find it, where he's pressing full court like he's trying out for a D1 squad. They didn't just win. They demolished the media team by nearly 50 points. It got to a point where one of the announcers said, "Phil Prezi extends the lead to 47. And honestly, it felt like a metaphor for how locked in Mazzulla is coming into this season. And yes, it's hilarious. It's over the top, but it also says a lot. Because for all the talk about leadership and perception, what Mazzulla showed in that moment was a willingness to get his hands dirty, to compete, to connect with people through basketball. That's his language. That's how he builds relationships. Not with long speeches or forced emotional displays, but with sweat, intensity, and grit. That's how he earns respect. There's a tendency in the NBA to view head coaches through two lenses. Either they're the tactician on the whiteboard or the motivator in the locker room. But the truth is, to thrive in today's league, you've got to be a little bit of both. You've got to know how to draw up the right play out of timeout and also understand how to reach players, how to connect with them, how to create an environment where guys want to go to war for you. And that's where Mazzulla might be taking the next step. One of the best comments we saw from a fan recently nailed it. In the NBA, players already know the schemes. They know the playbook. What separates great coaches isn't just strategy, it's the ability to earn buy-in. These are grown men with egos, expectations, and careers to manage. They need to believe that the guy calling the shots has their back and is pushing them towards something greater than individual stats. That trust, that belief, is what unlocks a team's full potential. And say what you want about some of Mazzulla's decisions during high-pressure moments. The timeout usage, the out-of-bounds plays, all fair points, but last season he grew. A lot. He made adjustments. He called timeouts quicker when runs started to snowball. He trusted different lineups. He leaned on his staff more. That's what you want to see from a young coach in a high-stakes job. Growth, adaptation, a willingness to own mistakes and come back sharper. It also helps that the roster is still loaded. Jason Tatum is entering another season where the MVP buzz is going to follow him everywhere he goes. Jaylen Brown, fresh off a huge extension, looks like he's coming in with even more confidence and fire. But what could make the difference this year is what happens around them. Guys like Derek White, who might be the most underrated two-way guard in the league. Peyton Pritchard, ready to take on a bigger role and light it up from deep. Sam Hauser, who's quietly become one of the best spot-up shooters in the conference. These aren't just role players, they're impact guys. They shift games. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The basketball world is buzzing with whispers that could shake the very foundations of the Eastern Conference. Sources close to the matter hint that Michael Porter Jr., the towering talent long associated with the Brooklyn Nets, might be packing his bags for Boston. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the mere suggestion has sent shockwaves through fans and analysts alike, igniting a frenzy of speculation. Porter Jr., often hailed for his versatile scoring and elite athleticism, has been a cornerstone of the Nets' long-term plans. Yet, murmurs from inside the Celtics camp suggest that the storied franchise is exploring ways to lure him to TD Garden, potentially reshaping the balance of power in the East. Insiders hint that Porter's combination of perimeter shooting, size, and defensive potential could make him an ideal fit alongside Boston's young core, and, naturally, a nightmare matchup for rivals. The notion of Porter Jr. abandoning Brooklyn has left Nets faithful in disbelief. The team invested heavily in building around him, seeing him as a future superstar capable of redefining their championship aspirations. To see him possibly cross the aisle is being framed by some as a betrayal, a traitor moving from one Atlantic rival to another, igniting a dramatic saga that feels straight out of Hollywood script. Social media is already ablaze with fans debating the motives. Is it money, opportunity, or a personal vendetta against the Nets front office? Celtics supporters, meanwhile, are allowing themselves a daydream. Imagining Porter Jr. in green and white, stretching defenses, cutting to the rim, and hitting clutch threes has already sparked wild speculation about playoff implications. Analysts are drawing up hypothetical lineups and envisioning an Eastern Conference that could see Boston leapfrog traditional powerhouses, thanks to one man's potential arrival. While the story remains firmly in the realm of rumor, the mere chatter is enough to redefine the offseason narrative. The East Coast is buzzing with intrigue, betrayal, and anticipation. Could Michael Porter Jr. really be the Celtics' next marquee star? Or is this just another tantalizing whisper destined to fade as quickly as it appeared? One thing is certain. If the deal happens, the coast of the Atlantic may never feel the same. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.